Okay, on today's flight, I'm gonna be taking off in Moncton, and I'm not gonna be doing the simulated, or I won't be on the IVAO network for the radio calls. I'm gonna go and do some circuits and maybe do some attitudes and movements, and then I might do a simulated engine failure, either in the circuit or maybe out in the area. So that's kind of the plan for this evening on the simulator. I will be using more of my checklist, and I also want to do a engine run up and kind of demonstrate that. And so yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So what I've been doing is kind of just doing a little bit, like working on a few things each time I run the simulator. Yeah, so we'll get started. So I have a Cessna 172 checklist that I got from the internet. I have that with me. If you are going to use a checklist on the simulator, it's better to print it off instead of actually having, it's better to actually have it printed out, just because it makes it a little bit more realistic. If you were to go fly in real life, your checklist is actually a piece of paper instead of something that's like digital normally. So normally that's how it is. So that would be maybe something to consider. So okay, so we did our walk around, and we'll pretend that's all done. So our pre-flight inspection is complete. Our passenger briefing is complete. Seat belts is locked and adjusted. Doors are closed and locked. Brakes test and set. Circuit breakers are checked in. Electrical equipment autopilot off. Avionics master switch off. Fuel selector valves on both. Fuel shutoff valve is pushed in. So now, before starting engine is done, starting engine, so throttle a 1/4 inch forward. Okay, mixture is full rich. Carb heat is in. Prime as required. I don't think we'll prime it because I had the engine running just a while ago, so it should be good to go when I was checking a few things out for the recording. Aux fuel pump is on. Propeller area, so it says clear. So you want to open you want to basically yell and say clear, making sure no one's around. There's no other students, there's no other people walking around. Master switch is on. There we go. Keep the egress off. That's the master switch. So master switch is on. Beacon is on. Beacon light on. And then we're gonna go ahead, ignition start. So we'll put the ignition to start. Gauges are in the green. There we go, throttle to 1,000. Oil pressures are checked in the green. So oil pressure is good. Auxiliary fuel pump is off. Avionics master switch on. Radio is on. Auxiliary fuel pump. Auxiliary fuel pump. Okay, transponder is on standby. Flaps up. Amp meter check. So amp meter check, what that means. So when I take my alternator off and I'm running just on the battery, we should see a decrease in amperage. There we go. Sounds good. Heading indicator set. So what you want to do is you want to set this and correspond with this. So it looks good to me. 020, 020. ATIS, so we get the ATIS. We'll just simulate that. So boom, boom. So we're getting ATIS. I think it's 128.65. But we're not going to be doing. What if I press enter? Does that give you the ATIS? No, it doesn't. Oh crap, no, cancel. What I could do is maybe get the ATIS off the internet. Just one sec. The thing is too, we're not using we're just using a different weather, so we'll skip that for today. So it'll be accurate anyways. Altimeter set, so let's just confirm we have the right altitude. It should be 232. Autopilot, we won't be using that, so this doesn't matter. Flight controls. Reading correct. Boom, boom. Okay, departure and taxi clearance. So I'll simulate that. So Moncton ground, it's Cessna 172, November 172 Sierra Papa is looking to taxi to apron 4 for the run up. I think it's apron 4. Let me just open the map here. So what we can do, actually, let's just do the run up right here. So we'll do the run up here. So I don't think we need clearance there. I don't have the Moncton diagram, but basically we don't need clearance for that area. So we'll just go over there and do the run up. So we'll disengage the parking brake, add a little bit of power. Test the brakes, they work. I'll just go ahead over there for the run up. Go into the winds. On, so we'll simulate the winds because the active runway is, I believe it's 1-1, so we'll simulate, I think the winds are calm too. Look at the winds. Yeah, there's not much wind. Okay, this should be fine. So before takeoff, parking brake is set. Cabin doors are closed and locked. Seat belts are adjusted and fastened. Flight controls free, correct. So right, left, right. So as I'm doing that, you should be seeing the rudder controls are in properly. Yep, it's good to me. Down. Checking the rudder pedals too, which I don't have yet, so I will be investing in that rudder pedals in the next couple weeks or this month, so just keep them on everything I do. I should have rudder pedals, but I don't have them connected to the simulator yet. And XPlane 10 doesn't have rudder pedals, or like on your keyboard you can't, there's a rudder lock, but there's no actual rudder pedals, so or sorry, there's rudder trim, but there's no rudder pedals that you can use. Instruments are set. Fuel quantity check. Fuel shutoff valve is on. Mixture is full rich. Fuel selector valve is on both. Trim is set for takeoff. So we'll just, this is the rudder trim, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit so it's ready to, basically when I take off, it should be ready for takeoff. And from what I remember, it's just a little bit below the arrow, so right about there. Alright, so we're going to do the engine run up, so throttle to 1800 RPM. Magnetos check. So left, both, right. So small drop in RPM, that's what we want to see for the magneto check. Suction gauge check. That's fine. Engine instruments are checked. Good. Amp meter check. So we will add all the power. It takes the load. Mixture set for density altitude, so we'll just do that for now. Carb heat on. Annunciator panel check. Good. Throttle to 1000. Throttle friction lock is adjusted. Strobe lights on. Strobe lights are on. Radios and avionics are set. So we'll do that. We'll have 128 and 121.8.
Error. Error.
So ground is 121.8 and tower is 128, so 1. That's good. Autopilot is off, flaps for takeoff, so we'll put 10 degrees. And parking brake release, windows are closed. So we'll just do a takeoff briefing. So we'll be taking off, just to myself, so we'll be taking off runway. So we'll say we got the information and we'll be taking off runway 11. So in the event of engine failure after flights, I will land, if we have enough runway, I'll land straight, or wait, if in event of engine failure before taking off, we'll bring the power back, mixture is auto cut off, full brakes applied. If we're airborne, I'll pitch for 60, land straight ahead. If airborne with insufficient runway, we'll make small adjustments in heading and land straight ahead. So we'll be going out and doing some circuits. We'll be going out to the area, do some attitudes movements, maybe do a simulated engine failure, and then circuits. And there we go. It's good. Okay, so, and next will be the takeoff checks. Okay, so we'll simulate our radio calls. So Moncton ground, it's Cessna 172, November 172, Sierra Papa. Run-ups complete with information Bravo. So we'll say information Bravo, which is the ATIS. We'll pretend we had ATIS Bravo. We're going to be going out to the area, training area 1 Alpha. So we'll say by Shediac, up that way. I believe it's 1 Alpha for the flight culture here. And then we'll be coming back and doing some circuits. I'm going to say Roger. I'm going to say altimeter is, he'll give us an altimeter setting, and he'll give us the active runway, the winds, all that stuff, and he'll say we're clear to line up to, or hold short on Alpha, or wait, is it Alpha? Yeah, so we're clear to hold short Alpha, and then we back that. Parking brakes off. So we'll go and line up for the runway. We'll basically go here, hold short, and then we'll go and take off runway 11. while we're taxiing down, I'm gonna go and just check the turn coordinator. So wing left, ball right, decreasing, compass is free and floating, wing right, ball left, numbers are increasing, compass is free and floating. That's good. Just 1 second. Okay. Alright, and then we'll switch over frequencies here. So Moncton Tower,
Error.
in Charlie, holding short, runway 11. We should be up a little bit more. Okay. So he gave us updated winds, and he said we're clear to take off runway 11. So roger that, clear to take off runway 11. So takeoff flaps are takeoff checks, car beats in, altitude, transponder is to alt. Switch that right away. Throttle, trim is set for takeoff, throttle's full, and lift off at 55. So here we go. Airspeed is alive. Temperature pressures are good. And 55 rotates. It got pretty dark quick here, so. Up. Just gonna adjust the volume for what you guys hear. Turn that down. climb out at 70 to 80 knots indicated. So I'm just going to lower the nose for visibility, check for other planes, and also to cool the engine down a bit. So just 1, 2, 3, look around, and 1, 2, 3. And I'm also going to adjust the, I'm going to put it more daytime so I can actually do some exercises that are suitable for daytime. So what we'll do is, set up. So I had sunset, now it's getting darker. But I don't want it to reset. Is there a way to change the time? Daytime. So let's pull back here on the time. We'll say it's local 12:16 Zulu. There we go. Much better. Okay. I can see in the plane. Yay. So we're climbing out. I got my, I would have my my map of the area with me, pointing to the direction of where we're flying. So that's another thing I might look to invest in, is get some VNC maps, and also CFS, so I have at home, so I can actually, and we'll say we're going out towards Shediac area, out here, which is a local area by the beach. Do our training. Lower the nose, check for visibility. So we'll go to that boot over there. We're gonna go do some training out in this area. Checking the gauges. Looking outside for traffic, left to right check, there's our airport. Left to right. Always looking for traffic, especially when you're turning. If you want to turn, you always want to look for traffic. So we got a nose up attitude here. If you see the horizon, right, and you see the dashboard, you have the dashboard on top of the horizon, so that's a nose up attitude. We see more sky and more sky and less ground, so that's a climb attitude, and then we got climb power. Full power, and attitude plus power equals perform. Oh crap. Just one sec. Uh-oh. I'm gonna pause the simulator. I have a challenge with my mouse here. Just one sec. What the heck is happening? Oh, there we go. Oh. This is what I'm gonna do. I need need to control the plane right now, but for some reason my mouse is like, wait. Oh, there we go. Okay, much better. So we'll control the plane again. Okay, so attitude plus power equals performance. A nose up attitude and full power will give you a climb performance. And it'll give you a climb airspeed about 80 knots. Okay, I'm gonna lower nose again, check for visibility, and we're at 5,000 feet. You know what, I'm gonna go to my cruise attitude. So attitude here. We're going up. So down to C-pad, up to the apartment. So attitude, bring the power back. It's about 2,300 RPM. That should give me the cruise performance. So attitude plus power equals performance. So we have a cruise attitude. I can put my fist on the dashboard and it should be where the horizon is. And I got cruise power around 2,300 RPM. That gives me a cruise performance, right? So attitude plus power equals performance. Cruise checks. Pitch is set, throttle as required, trim is set, and mixture we'll keep full rich because we're going to be doing some exercises out here. Alright, so Moncton Tower says you're cleared en route, and we say cleared en route. So we're leaving their control zone. So we'll do a, losing my altitude here. So what we'll do is we'll climb, we lost 200 feet here. I'm gonna go ahead and climb 200 feet. So attitude, full power, trim, and we're getting to our altitude. So attitude, cruise attitude, bring the power back and trim. We'll try to keep the plane nice and level. Boom, looks pretty good. So we'll switch to the traffic advisory, so we'll just simulate that for right now. Switch into the right frequency, switch over. So traffic advisory out in the Shediac area, we're going to be working over the boots, 6,000 feet and below. Any conflict, please contact November 102 Sierra Papa. So it's good to have your VFR charts and have the frequencies that you're going to be using for the flight all written down would be nice. So that's little things I'll keep adding to my videos little by little to make it more realistic. So let's do some turns. So I'm going to go ahead and make a 30-degree turn to heading of 330. So I'm going to do a lookout first. We'll look out to the left. So we're going to go and bank 30 degrees. So we'll pitch the plane up, slightly nose up a little bit more, add a little bit of power, and we'll do it to 330, and then we'll level off. Boom. So we're back to that cruise attitude outside. So we have a cruise attitude here, and then a cruise attitude here. So it's the outside references should equal the inside references. So let's do a right-hand turn to 060. So we do our lookout. We're good. So we'll bank this time 20 degrees. So we'll go to 060. Here it comes. So we'll level off. So what you do if you're banking 20 degrees, when you're 10 degrees, which is half of that, that's when you want to level off to your heading. Okay. let's go ahead and practice a simulated engine failure. So what we need to do for that is we'll bring the power back. So engine failure, boom. So first thing we're gonna do is pitch for the best glide, which is I'm gonna pause the simulator. Best glide, best glide, best glide. Is it written here? I don't think they have it written. Oh, maximum glide 60 knots. So 60 knots is going to give me my best glide with power off. So in the event of the engine failure, you're going to want to pitch for best glide to give you the best performance for that. So we will pitch for 60 knots. We'll do a radio call, simulate it. So Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. It's November 172 Sierra Papa, November 172 Sierra Papa, November 172 Sierra Papa. We just had an engine failure. We are currently 5,000 feet over the Shediac Buttes, and we're going to be doing an engine or a landing over the Buttes in the farmers field below, and then we do our passenger briefing. So we'll simulate as if I'm flying with a passenger. So we're going to be landing that field below. Just make sure everything's stowed away, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's good. And the winds are 110 when we took off, so we're going to be landing into the headwind. So I'm going to start banking this way, and I'm going to start picking my field that I'm going to land for. So look at all these fields. These look pretty good. So you want to find a field where this area looks pretty good here. Okay. So we're keeping that 60 knots. And what we're doing is every 500 feet or so, we're going to add some throttle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All that's doing is, because this is a simulated engine failure, we're keeping the throttle, we're basically keeping the throttle, the engine cool when we do that. So there's the boot that I was mentioning, and then we can squawk. I'm going to confirm this. I'm going to confirm the squawk code 7700 squawk. So in-flight emergency from a pilot's perspective. So we're going to squawk 7700. So that's basically 7700. So that will help send a message to the tower that we're in we have an engine failure. So okay, so we kind of picked the area that we're going to be landing into, and now what I'm doing is I'm thinking of my altitude. So I'm looking on my map, my VNC, and I'm picking the I'm picking my altitude so I can do a basically land properly where, so it's about 60 feet out in this area. So I'm thinking 1,500, 1,000, and then land. So 1,560. So nice farmers fields here. That's where we're going to do our simulated engine failure. So we'll keep everything nice and close. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the plane's trimmed out. If you have the plane trimmed out properly, if you are not touching anything, it should maintain the airspeed and the attitude outside. This is good. This is what you want when you're flying. I'm looking for, when I'm picking the fields, I'm looking for obstructions. Is there anything that could potentially be dangerous landing there? Is there any towers? Is there any power lines? Is there anything at all? And it looks pretty good to me, right? So those are the things you got to look for when you're doing your see, look, I looked over and I'm getting my airspeed is a little bit fast, but it's good. So there's the boot that I was mentioning. I'd probably be a little bit more specific on the radio call. So we're landing. We're going to be doing an engine failure on the about 4 nautical miles west of the boots, and I'd probably say over near the highway that runs that way. There's the Shediac Highway, so people know specifically where I'm looking to do the engine failure. So we're looking, we don't want to land into the trees. We want to be very good for, if I land this way, there could be like, you want to pick something that's kind of into the wind and no obstructions. So we'll keep turning. So here we go, we're at 2,000 feet, so I'm just planning 60 feet. We're gonna start getting set up to do the forced approach. Pull the engine off. So this is the first time doing this kind of thing on a flight simulator, so bear with me, I'll do my best. So I'm going to basically turn here and then come into the landing here, into the farmer's field. And what we're going to do is when we know for sure that we've made the field where it looks like, for sure that we've made it and everything looks good. And I'm also now considering flaps. So I'm going to be considering, should I put my flaps down or not? So I'm going to do a 360 here. So I'm going to start putting some flaps. Getting ready for that simulated engine failure. Landing. If I put too much flaps, I can always put them back up. So I'm always going to have that option. Trying to judge this as best as I can. So we're gonna land, pick that field there. I'm gonna dump more flaps. When you put flaps on a Cessna, it starts to sink. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit more flaps. Oops, that was my mistake. And we'll pitch for 60 knots. Start turning on final. Looks pretty good. There's the landing. We're gonna make it. We are gonna make it. We're gonna land nice and as best as we can on the farmer's field. 60 knots, looks good. Here we go. Turning on final. And we're gonna overshoot. So this would have been a simulated forced approach into the wind. So we made it full power. 1 notch of flaps. We got 2 positive rates, so our altimeter's climbing, our VSI is climbing, so that means I can put another notch of flaps up. And now we'll go full flaps. There we go. So that's a simulated force approach. So now what we'll do, we'll go back to the so we did, maybe let's do some attitudes. So we'll do some attitudes and movements. So we'll simulate, we'll do like nose up attitude, nose down attitude, bank attitudes, and see how the plane performs based on those attitudes. So I'm just going to climb first. And then I'll be doing a simulated radio call. So traffic in the over the Shediac, we're over the we're about, there's the city of Shediac right now. We are 2,300 feet. And we're just climbing, and we're going to be doing some more exercises out here, and then we'll be heading back to the airport. So I'm doing a climbing turn. Ideally, you don't want to do a climbing turn more than 15 degrees. So it's a 10. We're turning at 10 degrees now. It's a little bit less. The plane's turning a bit, but like 10 degrees. Okay, so we'll level off here. So attitude, power trim. Okay, so let's do a nose up attitude. So we'll just practice different attitudes. So here's a nose up attitude. Decrease in airspeed, but you keep climbing. So we'll do a nose down attitude. Nose down, you can see more ground and less of the sky. That means that's how you can tell you're in a. That's how you can tell you're in a nose down attitude, right? Look at that. So all I see down there is the ground, right? I see less of the sky, more of the ground. So nose down attitude. And the wings are fairly level. So we'll do a nose up attitude. So now we see more sky, less ground. We can do a banked attitudes. So this is 30 degrees. Here's an angle 30 degrees with the horizon, and that indicates a 30 degree. So this is 10, 20, 30 with the attitude indicator. So we'll do the other way, 30 degrees. Always looking out before turning. So 30 degree angle here, 30 degree angle here. Okay, so let's do maybe a radio call to Moncton Tower. So it's Moncton Tower, November 172 Sierra Papa, is out in the over by the boot in Shediac, 2,300 feet. We're about a couple, 4 nautical miles, or like about 8 miles. West of the boots, or about 50 miles, or we'll say 20 miles west of the boots over Shediac. And there's like reporting points too. If I had my map, it'd be a little bit more specific. I do need to get a, we have to get some VFR charts map so I can actually use it while flying. It is a lot easier to actually have it with you. You can get one off the computer and have it on your screen or whatnot, but it's better to have a paper copy. It just makes it more realistic, right? So we'll say he cleared us to, there's the airport there. We'll say he cleared us to a left downwind for runway 11. So check that. So we'll start our descents. So approach, flight instruments checked and set, radios checked, ATIS. We would have got the ATIS before coming in. What if I switch over? I don't think it actually gives you... I think it's 128.65. Let's see if...
Greater Moncton
Oh, look at that.
Error.
100 Zulu weather. Wind calm. Visibility more than 10.
They give you an ATIS.
Sky
That's unbelievable.
6,900 broken. Temperature 14.2.0.
That's unbelievable.
Altimeter
I'm pretty impressed with the simulator. Holy crap, man.
Arriving and departing runway 06. Advise on initial contact. You have Zulu.
So I'm gonna do the ATIS. I'm gonna write it down. I didn't know that. I'm blown away. This simulator is unbelievable. They did an amazing job with this. So information.
Greater Moncton INTL information Zulu. 1500 Zulu weather.
Winds are calm.
Wind calm.
Visibility.
Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 6,900 broken. Temperature 14.2.0. Altimeter 2992.
2992.
Arriving and departing runway 06.
Runway 06.
Advise on initial contact. You have Zulu.
Wow.
Error.
I'm blown away. That's awesome. So runway 06 is the active. So we'll just look here at the airport. I'm blown away. That is pretty cool. So we took off runway 11, and we'll be coming in runway 06. I'm blown away that they had the ATIS like that. That's so cool. Okay, so we landed at runway 11, so 26 is now the active, so we'll come in here for a downwind here, base and final. And the we actually need to climb because I should be at 1,232. So we're gonna climb here. Attitude, bring the power to circuit power, so circuit RPM. It's about 2,300 RPM. So you want to see, yeah, it's about 2,300. You want to see 2,300 RPM. Attitude power trim. So I got that cruise attitude we were talking about out there, and I'm basically looking ahead. I'm looking I'm using the lake here as a reference. I'm flying directly to it. So it doesn't matter where the nose of the plane is, I'm flying directly towards the lake, right? So the nose can be pointed to the left, to the right. It doesn't matter. I'm going that direction. I got 1,000 feet above the circuit altitude, and there we go. We're on our downwind now. So we'll do our left to right checks. Batteries look good. Circuit breakers are in. Lights are good. Mixture's full rich. Fuel selector is on both. Flaps are good. I should be back on. So, Moncton Tower, Cessna 172 Sierra Papa is on a left downwind for runway 06 for a, what should we do, some circuits, or we'll just do a, we'll do a full stop. So we'll do a full stop. He says, roger that, you're number 1 for runway 06. We say number 1. So we'll turn on base. So I'm picking a reference point out there. I'm picking the water all the way out there. I'm flying directly towards that, which is 90 degrees. And now I can start bringing my power back. Pitching for my approach, 60 knots, I think. With flaps 60 to 70 knots. So we'll dump our flaps. We're a little high. Turn on final, and then their tower says November 172 Sierra Papa, you're clear to land runway 06. Clear to land 06. November 172 Sierra Papa. So we'll pitch for about 70 knots. So the point on the runway that's not moving, that's where we're going to be flaring, and the plane should land about 500 feet after that point, right? So the point on the windscreen that's not moving, that's going to be your flare point, and you'll be touching down 500. That's how you basically, so notice how it's like not moving, it's like not moving much about here. That's, if you're using the simulator, that's basically where you're going to be flaring. The plane's going to land about 500 feet after that. So here we go. So we'll bring the power all the way back, and then we'll flare, cruise attitude, start pitching the plane back a little bit, and then holding this attitude, and there we go. Power's back, brakes. And we'll just we'll get out of the runway. So we cleared the backtrack and to get off the runway into taxiway Delta. So once we're in the taxiway and off the runway, bring the power back. We do our post-landing checks. And he said we're cleared all the way, or he said switch to Moncton Tower. We switched the tower and he cleared us.
Greater Moncton INTL
Whoops.
information Zulu.
Error.
1500 Zulu weather.
Error. Error.
So we're cleared to, he told us to switch over to tower frequency, or to ground, sorry. So 121.8. Boom. Switch over.
Error.
This is Moncton ground over 172 Sierra Papa. We're on Delta. Request taxi into the college. And we'll go over there. So after landing checks, flaps. So he cleared us all the way back to the college. So we're crossing the runway. Charlie. Whoops. Flaps up. Carb heat is cold, transponder standby, landing light off. So we'll do that wall. Standby. Landing light is off. So these yellow lines are for taxiing. You're going to want to have the nose of the plane on the line. We'll go and we'll shut the plane down here into the wind. And I would be using rudder, but I don't have rudder pedals yet. So that will be the next thing we need to do. There we go. So parking, avionics master switch off. Electrical off. Throttle to 1000 RPM. Parking brake. Whoops. Just one sec. Yeah, brake's wrong. Mixture. So when you want to shut the plane off, you just take your mixture, which is the fuel that goes into the engine right here. That's what the red lever is for. And when I pull this back, I'm basically putting less fuel into the engine. And that basically shuts the engine off. So you don't want to do this in the air. You want to do this on the ground safely when you're done flying. Ignition switch off. So once that's done, then you take the ignition switch off, not the other way around. You always want to take the mixture off first. So that's off. And then master switch off. There we go. So control locks are installed, Hobbs meter record, door is secured and then tie down. So we're done. So I'd write down the Hobbs stop for, I don't think they have a Hobbs meter in here. But one thing I'm really impressed with, I'm gonna turn that back on, is the actual ATIS. Like you can actually get, I don't know how, if I switch, I'm wondering if I switch the weather, if it actually changes based on the weather. I just want to check something.
Error.
One 28.65.
Greater Moncton INTL information Zulu.
Error.
1500 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 6900 broken, temperature 14, dew point 0. Altimeter 2992. Arriving and departing runway 06. Advise.
Okay, I wonder if I change the weather in the simulator.
Error.
I'm gonna do that right now.
Error.
Quick flight setup. So let's say it's night out, storming. Actually, let's do real winds and weather. All these options. And we're gonna go ahead and check the ATIS. So 128.65.
Greater Moncton INTL information Victor.
There we go.
Error.
It's updated.
Zulu weather. Wind 300
Error.
at 5. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 1500 overcast. Temperature 7. Dew point 5. Altimeter 3002.
That's very impressive. That's
Arriving
really
and
cool.
Departing runway 06. Advise on initial contact. You have Victor.
Okay, cool. So
Error.
that was good. So we'll shut down. We'll just
Error.
pause. The error, all of that error that you hear is basically TeamSpeak 2, I think, trying to log in because I have the. I think I need to shut this off if I'm not using. Yeah. This should be turned off somehow, but anyways, we'll figure that out later. So that was good. So let's just do a quick recap on the flight. So basically we did a flight and you were like flying with me as an instructor or whatnot, or we go in and we do a debriefing. So the flight was good. We did the forced approach. So one thing we need to add is actually get real VNC charts. And so we want to actually get a real map to follow when we're flying to make it more realistic. Checklists, we should always have paper copied if we're going to use a simulator. And what I'll start doing now is recording the ATIS and that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we did some different attitudes, nose up attitudes, noticing how you see more of the sky and less of the ground. And then you can do different angles of bank, 10, 20, and 30. And then we did our forced approach over that boot area in Shediac, which is the city over there. So yeah, we'll need a map. We'll definitely, I have, this one's like Vancouver, but we'll go, I'm gonna go ahead and get more of these somehow for these videos. And it'll help BFR terminal area charts. So yeah, we'll get more of those. Okay, so that was my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and may see you on another video. Bye for now.